It is February 20th, 2024. We are all present except for Chairman Bryant, who is not here with us this evening. So shall we, next is the vision, okay? Pledge, all right. So.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Our meeting agenda, we need to approve, right, next. So, do I have a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Rowe and a second by Ms. Schoenfelder. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, next. We need to read our mission statement. Ms. Rowe.
The mission of the Red Wing Public Schools is to educate and inspire all students as they realize their full potential and become respectful, responsible, and productive citizens.
All right, so next we have our student showcase. So our award-winning first place middle school math team is here to talk about their experience. Can you introduce yourselves?
And make some joy come down.
Yeah, kind of gather in around.
And you guys can like slide roll up to them and I'll
Yep.
slide in.
We want the people to see your faces.
Mason, here's your-
My name is Raylan Van Duzen.
And say what grade you're in and speak up.
I'm in 6th grade. I'm Tori Albrecht. I'm also in 6th grade.
I'm Aiden Fluger, I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Logan Ocean, and I'm in 6th grade.
I'm Willard Rushton, I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Jamara Lewis, and I'm in 6th grade.
I'm Mason Westerberg and I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Jack Wardle and I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Tristan Golchinska and I'm in 8th grade. I'm Willow Whaler and I'm in 7th grade.
And Anna Penn-Roches, and I'm in 7th grade.
And I'm Tammy Nicholson and I'm in like 42nd grade.
And our coach.
Yes, and the coach.
So what are you guys all holding?
You got the 3rd place trophy, that was,
That was for 2020 to 2021.
then this was last year's trophy, our 2nd place, and
And
then
then this year we did first.
Yeah.
And then we went 2021, we got 4th place.
So when we started 4 years ago, between now and then, we had a 3rd place, a 4th place, a 2nd place. And I said, you guys have to finish it and get a 1st place. So, which they did, which was by 10 points. So we had 480 and Cannon Falls had 470, so they were right behind us. But they finished strong and took 1st place.
I'm gonna talk to Superintendent Sampson to say
Yeah.
whichever one. So tell me about when you go to a math competition, like what happens? Because when I work with Miss Nicholson, she writes all these formulas up and like these equations, and I don't know. So can somebody describe like when you go to a competition, what does that look like?
So basically, we have to like,
Speak up really loud, Jack.
we have to like sit in the big cafeteria area and they give us 2 tests, each worth 14 points. And then later we take a team test, which is worth like
40.
40.
40.
Yeah.
So it's individual and team.
There's 2 individual and 1 team.
Yeah, one team.
And we had 2 different teams,
Yep, 2 different teams.
but we all contributed, we all were on the winning team at least once this year.
I love that. So you're all united.
Mhm.
This is a random question. This is really interesting to me. So what's like the hardest problem that's ever come up that you're like stumped?
I think it was one problem we got on the last test we had. It was like show some numbers in like simplified radical form and like finding the area or something. I don't remember the question too well, but
Yeah, that one was hard. That was one of the first.
I couldn't really answer that because I had COVID at that time, so. Couldn't really answer that.
Well, and I don't even understand what you're saying, so I'm impressed.
And it was hard because 6th through 8th grade, they all take the same test.
Right.
So we practice every week at the middle school, and the high schoolers go down. Last year, the middle schoolers came up. Just whoever ends school first, you go to that place, the other one. Anyway, but it's hard because some of them are at 6th grade math, and some of them are 8th grade math, and so a lot of the questions they hadn't ever seen before or learned in school. So it's very cool that they're learning stuff ahead of time, that they're gonna see it in their curriculum coming up. Because the 6th graders who are rocking it, I mean, everyone did, they just did a great job, but some of the stuff they've never seen before, like simplified radical form, they may have never seen that before. And some stuff the 8th graders have seen, but some they still have to learn.
Yeah, I started in 6th grade, and it was like impossible. Then it was easier this year.
So when Mrs. Mickelson retires, are we looking for math teachers? Is that something any of you are interested in?
maybe.
Awesome. There's lots of things you can do.
Have any of the questions ever stumped your folks?
Not that I know of.
That's senior high math, like, that's a problem.
How many different meets did you guys have?
5. Mhm. And all the points pulled together, but in the first meet, we took second. We were in between second and first the whole time.
How do you get onto the math meet? Like you just join?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
sorry, we're just looking at a sign up thing.
It was like the posters like saying, please join Math League around, and I just kind of joined the classroom from there.
So I sent out lots of communication to the middle school teachers, to the middle school, we put up posters around both buildings,
We got
And then-
flyers in 6th grade.
and I sent them flyers, because it's hard to get kids, it's not like some teams with kids just all sign up, you have to like recruit kids.
Mhm.
So I recruited well this year, and all the best. Yeah, so it is definitely, them like, and sometimes do your teachers reach out to you too once I call them, if ever, or not? No. Okay.
So do the older kids recruit, now, some of you are 6th graders, will you try and reach out to your kids you know that are in 6th grade to try and get them to join next year?
Probably.
Yes.
Here's an idea. You should go back and visit the 5th grade classrooms and tell them about Math League, so they know that's a possibility for next year. Get a captive audience.
Yep. Yeah, it was really great during COVID because we didn't have the honors math like we did in the middle school previously. So it's great that they had an outlet where they could still work on difficult math problems. That worked out very well. So,
And do kids have to pay to be in this, or is it free?
It's free.
not that I know of.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair.
All right, we're gonna try to attempt a picture.
Hang on, I want to do a couple special acknowledgements. Tristan took 2nd place out of all the kids in Math League. So Tristan, you gotta wave, or stand up and wave. So he missed 1st place by 2 points. And that Amelia was from Cannon Falls, and she was watching your score the whole year, seeing who was gonna win. And they were tied going into the last meeting, and she got 2 more points in them. Jack Wardle, stand up. Jack took 6th place. Rebecca Curtis is not here, she took 8th place. Tori took 9th place. Coxwell and Hayden. You had to be in the top 10 to get a certificate, he missed it by 2 points, but he took 12th place. And then just a shout out to my senior high math league, we need more senior high kids, you 8th graders, we need you coming next year. Brett Hoyer, who is in senior high math league, we just finished up senior high, and he took 10th place out of 6 schools. So 3 private, Cotter, Schaefer Academy, Rochester Lourdes, Stewartville, Lake City, and Red Wing, and Brett Hoyer took 10th place out of all the kids from all those schools. So he did amazing.
That's great.
We'd like to get a picture with all of you, with all of board members.
We're probably gonna exit this way though and go into the.
Highway.
Okay. And Karen, if you wanna come out and take pictures of, you don't need to stay.
Oh, shoot, Meredith, you missed it by 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I would be too if I scored high in math.
Exactly.
You don't advertise for it? Wasn't I answered so? They qualify for whatever national league. Just to get everybody more fun.
It did. A lot of different reasons, mostly, we have to check for
Feel free to stay, everyone.
I know,
right under the earbuds. My picture coat is in my car, I feel like I need to get it. Right, so everybody have everyone. Yes. Warm.
No.
We're sitting directly under the bed.
I'm wearing my,
Yes. I'm warming up, that's what I mean. I wasn't thinking about that. Do you want my scarf? No, I'm just whining. Well, what do you have? All right, should we?
Happy birthday, Myra.
Should we continue with our superintendent search? Barb, are you here? I think I see your face.
Thanks, you guys.
I'd like to introduce Barb Dorr. from Minnesota School Board Association, who is here to talk to us about our superintendent search. And I'm turning the meeting gratefully over to you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. It's nice to see all of you again. First of all, I want to ask who had the great idea to put me on right after the students. And impossible to follow. I'm so excited for their math success. Congratulations to all of them, anyone who's connected to the work that they're doing. That was a real treat. So I appreciate the chance to watch that as well. So again, my name is Barb Doran. I'm the Director of Leadership Development and Executive Search at MSBA. And tonight's purpose is to kick off.
Second, Barb. Jennifer's gonna try and turn up the volume.
Is it just here?
Is it echoing?
No, we're
just a little quiet.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't know how to do it on there. Can I do it on the computer?
I can test it and talk louder if you want me to just raise the volume of my voice.
Or do you have a mic that's like separate from, like how far is your mic from you?
I don't know. I've never had to do that before.
Have the buttons on the tab, like above the dash.
Yeah, it does. I don't see it doing anything.
You don't want to be in the center today. No line license.
Barb, can you say something? See if that's better.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Is that? I'm in my microphone settings. If someone wants to walk me through if I need to change something on my end, I can.
I think you're okay. We have the owl turned up now.
Ah, okay.
oh, there's a plus sign on the owl.
I'm doing it manually on here.
Okay, we got it. Thank you.
All right. So if I speak at this volume, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
That's good. All right. Great. Thank you for that. I really appreciate the troubleshooting on technology. Let's in the wait a little bit.
Yeah, can you hang on a second? We've got parents coming in from our American Indian Heritage.
Okay. I will just hold on. You know.
Oh, yeah. Pam, do you wanna close the door so that? That's okay. Go ahead, Barb. Sorry.
No worries at all. Can you hear me okay at this volume?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone. It's nice to see you again. As I mentioned, my name is Barb Doran. I'm with MSBA, and I'm the Director of Leadership Development and Executive Search. And I'll be working with the school board to support you in the upcoming superintendent search for Red Wing Public Schools. So I recognize all of the faces. I worked with all of you last year. It's nice to see you again. And the first thing that I want to say is that this is not unprecedented in any means at all. That's why we offer a 1-year guarantee on all of the superintendent searches that we support. There are times when after a year, it is for some reason not right for the board or the superintendent, whosever choice it is. And it is something that happens currently enough that we want to be able to offer another search to you at absolutely no charge. So we'll get to some of the specifics. If you'd like to do national advertising, we'd like to recoup those costs, but this is not something that is unusual. I actually do this fairly regularly. So I revisit with boards that I recently worked with, and I'm excited to work with you all again. So on the agenda you have, it looks sort of like this. Everyone has a copy of that, correct? Or looking at it electronically? All right, I'm going to walk through this, and there's some times where I'm going to be asking you to make decisions, and if I can't hear very well, I think I'll turn it back over to Therese to facilitate, but for the most part, I think I heard fairly well, so we're going to move ahead and dive into the agenda. This might be about a 20-minute to a half hour or so. It's hard to say. One of the biggest challenges, if you remember from the last search, is the timeline can be a little tricky. So that could be the only thing that might take us a little more time, but we do not need to reinvent the wheel. We have a lot of really great
foundational pieces in place for Red Wing Public Schools, and we're simply updating the information that we used last year for you. So in terms of review of the process, what I typically talk about there, which you are already familiar with, is that the open meeting law will apply to every stage of this process, as well as balancing that with the Government Data Practices Act. We've talked before about how to discuss private data in a public meeting, and you'll be doing that again. And I can certainly provide a refresher when that gets closer. But again, for the most part, all of you know exactly how this should unfold, and I'm there to support you, make recommendations, answer questions, and help guide you through every step of the process. The other thing about the process is that this is leadership, right? This is an opportunity, again, for the school board to step into the role of leaders in the district. And it is something I think that bodes really well for the future of the district. You've made some incredible strides under Martina's work with you as superintendent. And I think it's terrific that you are positioned really well. You know exactly what you're looking for. You have experience behind you. And so you should be able to bring the experience with the changes and the mission and direction that you're heading under Martina right now together for a very complete and very successful search. So it is a normal part of leadership, and the hiring process starts now. So even as we're speaking, there are people either watching this or will watch the recording later who are interested in this opportunity. It is a tremendous one for the right person. And so I just want to remind you that this is when we kick it off tonight, and all the decisions you make here are going to resonate for the next few months as we wrap this up for you before the end of the spring. On timeline, I want to reassure you, first and foremost, you have plenty of time. What we're looking at are two options for you to consider here. But the one thing I just want to drive home is this is not a late time to start a superintendent search. I believe we're currently doing 17 or 18 searches across the state, but we expect at least another 10, if not more, to 15 searches to come in between now and probably the end of April. So I don't want you to feel any pressure in terms of timeline, or I don't want you to feel rushed. You definitely have time. So if everyone could just look at the first 2 pages there, which do illustrate timelines, I'll just walk you through real quickly the differences between them. The first one does show an application date closing of March 6th. The reason for that is we know that you had a board meeting scheduled for the 14th, which I believe is now March 11th. And we were wondering if you might want to have an accelerated timeline to be able to make some decisions at the March 11th meeting. When you look at this, that ensures that you would probably be conducting interviews in early April. This is very accelerated. So if it were up to me, I would recommend not rushing it a bit and going with a lengthier timeline. We wanted to build it around spring break. That's always a consideration for folks. This first timeline, if you do have a decision being made on March 11th, that only allows the posting to be open for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. That's pretty tight. We have done that, but it's usually with searches that we start in April, because then instead of spending 2 or 3 months on a search, we're spending about 4 or 5 weeks. So we've done it, but it really should be done on that type of a tight time frame only toward the end of search season. So if it's okay with all members of the board, I would recommend instead you look at the second timeline, which has a closing date of March 19th. That allows the position to be posted and applications to be solicited for at least 4 weeks. So before I start talking specific dates, board members, are you okay with looking at the second timeline instead of the first?
Yes.
All right, we're not. Terrific. So I know you got your calendars, and we're going to try and find some times that work for all members of the board, because as we spoke last year, this is not a task for a subcommittee. This is a task for the full board, because all of you are the hiring authority. All of you oversee and work with and evaluate the superintendent. So tonight is February 20th. This is the special meeting. We are having it, however, at 6:00 p.m. So I'm going to change that on my end to be correct. And then we will suggest posting this day after tomorrow. So if everyone is aligned with the vacancy brochure and timeline and things like that, we will have this up and ready and rolling out there on the local and the regional sites on Friday of this week. So then we would close it on March 19th. You would then On March 19th is the application deadline. I'm actually going to suggest March 20th. MSBA would have access to them to make sure that they're complete. And then on March 21st is when you as board members would have access to all of those applications. Once again, either up in the cloud, or you could have hard copies available through HR in your actual building. So whatever works best for you. The very first meeting date that we want to get on the calendar then is the night you determine your finalists. And that's where you're discussing that private data in a public meeting. And that's where you're talking about candidate A, candidate B, candidate C, etc. So I'm looking at the dates we highlighted in green. I believe what Amy did was Thursdays and Mondays are in green. That's something that you like to meet on Thursdays and Mondays, maybe. But these dates work for our calendars. We do have 4 search leads that work for MSBA doing searches. I am planning to be at all of these meetings. However, I have some prior commitments. If you choose a night where I'll already be booked, rest assured, we have 3 other people that will be there in my place that do a lot of searches for us as well. So is there any sense if we look at March 25, 26, 27, 28, or 29, what might work best for board members to get together to determine your finalists and finalize interview questions?
Well, later in the board meeting, we're going to be talking about shifting our March meetings to the 11th and the 25th because of spring break. And so that would be a regular board meeting night. And I don't know how people feel about, is it wise to do that in a regular board meeting, or is that could be a marathon meeting? I can't remember.
Didn't we do that last time? I feel like we had a meeting and then stayed late
Okay,
to do that. But that's like also Easter week, so there's no school Friday, it's Good Friday.
so do you think Thursday, it would be better to do it Monday than Thursday?
I'll see what everyone else thinks.
I prefer the 28th. I think doing too much one night gets to be a long night. It's a long night for MSBA folks too, if they're waiting until we're done with our school board meeting.
Does that work for everyone?
Does it work?
I'm telling Heather she'll have to work for me on Thursday.
So the 28th works?
Yes.
March 28th at what time?
1 minute. Usual time. Yeah, and that would be a special board meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And what was the regular time? I'm sorry.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that's probably better for
Okay.
you, right? Starting sooner rather than later.
Whatever works for the board, we can be there. Okay, so March 28th at 5 p.m. for a special meeting. And that's great because that will give board members 7 days to take a look through the application materials and for us to do our vetting, pre-interviews, candidate reference checks, all that sort of thing. So March 28th at 5. Then you want to take a look at the first round of interviews. And we typically hold 2 days for that. I'm sure you remember we do usually evenings, but you can do them during the day if you would like to. You may interview up to 6 people. More than that becomes very, very cumbersome. So I would say you could probably plan on 4, 5, or 6 interviews. So if we hold 2 evenings, when in the next line of folks or times, April 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, or 9, would you like to do that?
I would rather do that second week of April.
That would be the same.
No, the 8th and 9th is what I'm.
Oh, 8, oh, yeah, sorry.
Is anyone able to do during the day? We did one marathon day one day, this last time that
We started at
was actually helpful. I
yeah.
think, was that the second round though, because like students took people around, candidates around while we were interviewing, or, do you remember, Barb?
Second round would have been all done in 1 day, yes.
And did we do the first round in one day?
I'm gonna take a look back at last year's information for you here.
Thank you. I could scroll back and find
That's
it.
all right.
Last time was very helpful.
Yeah, how did we do it last time?
Okay, so the last time you had the first round of interviews. You planned for bad weather just in case. So you determined your finalists on March 6th and you interviewed first round on March 9th, starting at noon. You allowed for March 13th at noon in case of inclement weather. And then you also scheduled second round of interviews for March 13th, beginning at 4, and March 14th at 4 in case of bad weather.
Okay.
So you did, you're correct. Great memory. So you started at noon for round 1 interviews on the 9th of March, and you started at 4 o'clock on March 13th for the finalist interviews with 3 people.
Should we schedule March 8th? April 8th, sorry, as our first round? How does that work for people?
Like a noon again?
Yeah, at noon. And do we want to keep the night just in case?
I could not start tonight at noon.
Okay,
On Thursday.
right, okay, well. That would be.
So the 8th. Would any, like, are there other dates that week that other people can start earlier? I could get 7.
Well, that's not even listed here.
Yeah,
You
so
don't have Americans available, right?
the 11th is not available.
Let me see what is on the 11th.
Or Wednesday the 10th? Was Wednesday an option or no?
If you'd like, yes, if you'd like to do the 11th, you certainly could. I'm committed to another district for interviews that night, but again, we have 3 other people who lead searches, so the 11th could work.
And it's also our alternate date, not our main date. Do you know what I mean? So,
We'll shoot for everything on the 8th.
yes,
and the 11th
everything
is
on the
backup.
8th and the 11th is backup.
So could someone close to your microphone repeat it to me? I've got the 8th starting at noon, and then is the backup date the 11th if the weather's bad?
Yes.
Okay, and also at noon if the weather's bad?
At noon?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So then, thank you. I've got first round of interviews starting at noon on Monday, April 8th. And then the second round of interviews, because you're doing it as early as Monday, you could have your second round of interviews on Thursday or Friday if you'd like to that week, or you could go into the following week as well. That's up to you.
I think I'd rather go into the following because if our backup date is Thursday, like in case that ends up being our first round, to have
Time to
Yeah.
do what we need
Or-
to do in between.
For the candidates to be able to
Right.
rearrange their.
Right.
During a second.
Okay,
Is the 15th of our next school board meeting?
It is.
Yes.
I think that's on the plan too, is to possibly move it to 8th and 22nd, or was it just March moving?
It was just March.
Oh, okay,
So there's 5 Mondays, so we'll use contract.
got it.
So you have 2 board meetings back to back, and the first?
We moved the March one to 25th.
Oh, yeah.
I thought what Jim had sent had April too, but I could totally be wrong.
Oh, they,
Meetings in April would move to
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
direction, but I don't know.
yes, I think you're right, Hannah. Yeah, all right. So then what we got, we're interviewing the 8th. So should we do the 18th for the second round? Seems too far.
All right, we have to pause, sorry.
That's okay.
If you choose April 8th and we go with the modified March and April, that's the board night. So we have to,
Oh,
so you may have to go with,
we might just have to leave April the way it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
We can have a discussion on whether to approve it or not, but maybe it's April as is, and then we
Yeah.
can discuss it.
Right. Yes, ma'am. We're having work. It's all okay. So we are still keeping the 8th for interviews for the first round. And then Barb, what are your thoughts on a date the next week then?
If you go into the next week, that's absolutely fine. I wouldn't go toward the end of the next week because that's an awfully big gap between round 1 and round 2.
Right.
One of the reasons for that is by the time April, May comes, there will be candidates potentially in several pools. And so
Right.
you don't want to lose a really great candidate because another district is doing their second round of interviews before yours. So sooner might be better than letting it get out there too far and somebody takes another job, even though they wanted yours, but they took something that was a guarantee versus waiting for the interview.
Right, yep.
And second round is quicker usually, right? Because we only usually do like
Do
maybe
4,
2.
so we'd start 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
Yep. So we'd start at 4.
I would suggest going with the 15th, not any later than that.
Yeah.
And then if we have to move that school board meeting
We have
the
to
next
move it.
week. then-
Okay.
Or if we have a marathon day, then if it was like noon, if we started at noon on the 15th,
Boy, but
then we have the 2 to 3 interviews. And then have our meeting
at
at 6.
that.
If we
If you
started
start at noon on Monday the 15th for an interview, is that right?
That's, yeah, we're still.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. The only thing to consider then is I'm pretty certain candidates would love tours of the district again. And I know that Ann and Dawn coordinated those last times. And so they'd need to be there maybe by 9 a.m. or 9:30 to get their tour in before the first interview at noon. So we'll do that kind of round robin thing again. But absolutely, whatever works for the board is what I'll put down here.
Honestly,
So is that,
I think the 15th would work great, and, you know, we have candidates that might be traveling and might enjoy coming on Sunday and
right,
feeling.
hanging out and
Yeah.
staying over and, yeah.
So I think noon on the 15th, and then we can keep our board meeting.
Yep. Okay. So noon on the 15th.
Okay. And then do you want to set a backup day in case of bad weather on the 15th? You didn't need to do it last year and it worked out really well, but occasionally it can be a problem, so.
MIU is that.
Oh, that's at the end of the week, right?
What's happening?
On the 19th, Minnesota Indian.
Oh, okay.
Conference in.
If we don't need to start until 4 for those second interviews, that might free up like availability during the week for some of us.
Well, but for the second round, yeah,
For a follow-up or
Right.
a snow day.
well, so should we do, should we do 16 for as the backup?
We're starting.
Okay.
Let's just hope it doesn't snow.
It's not much. I'm telling the universe now.
Did I hear the 16th? 1/6
Next day at 4, yes.
at 4, 16th at 4. Okay.
Yep.
If for weather, hopefully that won't be the case. Terrific. Okay. So I will finish this tonight and send it to you for review, but verbally, I'm just going to tell you what my notes say. Let's see, March 19, 2021. Okay, you will meet to determine finalists on March 28th at 5 p.m. You'll conduct round 1 beginning at noon on April 8th with April 11th at noon as a weather backup. You will conduct round 2 interviews on April 15th at noon with the 16th at 4 p.m. as a weather backup. Is that right? Okay, great. Sounds good. I will update all of this and have it ready for you then to lay eyes on tomorrow so everyone can confirm that it's great. Thank you for your help. It's actually the most difficult part of the planning meeting is that calendar. So congratulations. That went really, really smoothly. The next thing I'd like you to turn to is the vacancy brochure. And we're going to talk through that just a little bit here. We did update it with the new information, and you have this copy, I believe, in front of you. And you can have, there was another copy provided that showed you exactly what changed from last year's brochure. Some of the branding information, some of those things, the by the numbers were updated. Let's see, the salary and benefits information was updated, logo and the financials were updated. Otherwise, it's a very solid brochure. There was one addition of a bullet point on the bottom of the Points of Pride for Red Wing Public Schools. But other than that, is there anything on here that anyone on the board would like changed? Otherwise, I'll remove the word draft. I will insert the timeline that you just agreed to, and this is what will be ready to post then on Friday morning.
Anyone?
I think it's good. Looks good.
Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, terrific. I will also send this to you for eyes on it before we post it Friday as well. So the timeline and the brochure will be coming your way. All right, I did want to review a couple other things sort of on this checklist. One is the role of the current superintendent. And it is just something I always want to clarify with school boards. In this case, typically there is no role for a sitting superintendent. However, one of the very best things they can do is to be available for questions from interested applicants. They can be a real advocate, ambassador, cheerleader for the district if people have questions. I've already spoken to Martina. I know she is more than happy to help set you up for success. So if it's okay, the role I would foresee for Martina in this is as a resource for people who have questions about what it's like to serve as superintendent in Red Wing. And other than that, she wouldn't need to attend any of the meetings that the board has, wouldn't attend the interviews, any of those sorts of things. So is everyone okay with that role? And Martina, are you okay with that as well?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. As far as the in-district contact people, I have on my list who I worked with last year. I would share information with Lisa in order to get things posted in Board Book. I think I'd like to continue doing that. And also I worked with Ann and Dawn from a communications side of things. So I would continue to work with both Ann and Dawn to get information to the website and things like that. Are all of those contact people still appropriate? Okay, great. Yes.
Has Craig Morris reached out at all? I know last time he was really part of this process, an important part. Has he shown any interest or has anyone connected with him?
Yeah, I talk to Greg probably twice a week. We're still working together on a number of searches. One of the things that's different with a redo search is that we don't redo the stakeholder involvement as far as surveys and listening sessions, and that was Craig's primary role. I will, however, talk to him about the dates on the timeline to see if he can accompany me to the interviews as well, or any of these other meetings. So yes, he definitely is interested and excited to hear that you have another opportunity for a superintendent. So. And I'm sure he would want me to tell you hi. So hi from Craig. I'm going to be seeing him tomorrow, in fact. So I'll tell him hi from everybody. The next page in the packet says estimated fee for service. It's this one. But as I mentioned at the top of the meeting, there is no charge for this at all. So the top couple of paragraphs about fee for service, you can cross that out. The reason I have this in here is twofold. Last year, you did some national advertising and you also did the in-depth background check on your loan finalist. So those would be the only costs we would need to recoup. So when you look at the things that are in red, what you'll see is that last year, you actually spent $580 on national advertising. You advertised on the National Alliance of Black School Educators, the Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents, and the National Indian Education Association. We can do all three of those again. We could do 1, 2, 3, or none. So that's one decision I'd like the board to give me direction on tonight is what, if anything, do you want to do for national advertising?
Did we get any evidence both of those postings?
It's always hard because we don't say, how did you hear about the position? It's hard to say, but I do know I got calls, particularly through the National Indian Education Association. I got calls about the position from some folks on that. The other sites are much larger. So there are people that are occasionally applying for jobs either through those or through MSBA's own website or MASA's website. They'll see them in multiple places, but I think the one that you posted on NIED did bring some interest from candidates. I can't speak to whether or not we had applicants that came from there, but there was interest generated. I know that.
I think we should do that one at least.
Yeah, and then,
That's what the others.
well,
We'll go to them. I think it's worthwhile to do a broad search.
right,
I agree. We went to the last.
yeah, it's only been a year, I
Mission and
think, yeah,
direction and
yeah,
Continue with that.
yes.
So the decision is, sorry, I didn't hear that very well.
So we're going to continue with all the groups that we posted with last time.
Okay, so that will be $580 and everyone on the board's okay with that, right?
Yep,
Okay, we will get it posted on all three of those again. And then last year you did choose to do that more in-depth national background check for educational credentials, work history, criminal background check nationwide for the $395 per person. Do you want to do that again on your lone finalists?
yes,
Yeah? Okay, got it.
you don't want to miss anything.
Okay. At the bottom of this page, you can see the satisfaction guarantee. And that's exactly why I'm visiting with you tonight. So just a reminder that that's in the proposal, and that's always in our proposals for every district we work with. So that decision is done. And then I did have a question on in-district meetings. Because we're not doing interview training with you, you just have all those materials from last year, you walk through the same process. We'll be in person for all of the interviews. There's only one meeting on March 28th for presentation of finalists. If we need to join virtually that night, is that okay? Or do you want to have us guaranteed to be there in district on March 28th? We typically charge to come in district just a $300 fee to cover our round trip costs and such. In this case, I don't want to charge you for that. However, if the weather is adverse or we're meeting with several other boards that day, is it okay on the 28th to join you in virtually like this?
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
Okay. So no charge if we can make it in person that day, but it is high season for searches and sometimes we got 3 meetings a day, so we can't always be there in person, but there wouldn't be a charge if we show up there in person. And that's what we'll try to do, but definitely the interviews, you'll have us there. And then the last thing really on this is the 2 pre-screening priorities. If you remember on the application, when you looked through all the materials, that people answered 3 very district specific questions for Red Wing. And one was based on the leadership profile, why are you the best candidate? And then there were 2 other questions in the application. These are the questions you chose to ask last year. So I wanted to confirm with you before anything further, if you still want those 2 questions, or if you see any on this last page that might appeal to you more. If the district is in a different place now than it was at this time last year, you might want to ask something different in the application.
So the 2 questions, just because we have a room full of people and they might be interested. The first question is to describe your approach to leading and building strong relationships to ensure that diverse backgrounds of all members in our school community will be heard and included. I think that is still a priority for us. We have it now, we want it to continue. And then how would you summarize your vision for the future of education? And how would you define the role of a superintendent in today's ever-changing educational systems? Other people have that question.
How are you looking at those 3?
It took me a minute, it's on the first page, and they're in italics.
Okay, back over here.
Yeah,
That's like
and
the very last.
so then there are a whole page of other screening questions.
All of those are still the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to keep those 2 questions.
Keep those 2? Okay. Wonderful. We will get that up and rolling Friday morning. So the other thing on my agenda simply says questions, because I want to make sure that I'm available to the board tonight as well as in the future. You should all still have my phone number, my email address. You can reach out anytime. This time of year, we work 7 days a week on searches, so please feel like you can call on Saturdays and Sundays if you need to. Most evenings I'm with the school board, so if I don't answer, I'll call you right back or just shoot me a text or an email and we'll keep in touch that way.
Right.
So is everybody feeling good about getting ready to get this started here again? Okay.
Yes, now, one thing that I remember we did last year, we met, that's the 28th is when we're going to determine the finalists and work on the interview questions.
Right.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. I will probably send you interview questions, suggested interview questions, a week before that meeting or so. And you can decide if you still want to ask those questions or if there are other ones, because your leadership profile hasn't changed. However, you do have a better sense and a real focus on where the district is going. I think you've strengthened your board's relationships really well. I think you have a vision that is exciting. So you might want to ask some different interview questions, and I'll try to get them to you ahead of time, along with the list of what you used last year. And then we'll work on them that evening to figure out exactly what you want to ask in round 1 and also in round 2.
Okay. And I think if anybody emails individually, Barb, it would be a good idea to CC Jim.
Yes.
As the chair, so he knows kind of what people are thinking.
Great. That'd be great. Okay. Well, if there aren't questions, I know you still have some things to work through this evening on your agenda. So again, I'm looking forward to working with you. I really feel like you are poised for a great search in Red Wing Public Schools. People are interested in the opportunity, and I really want to thank Martina for all the work she's done as well. It's been exciting to see the development of the team there. And I know that education is grateful to everything that she has done. So thanks, Martina, for that. And also for your willingness to be an ambassador for the district as we roll into this next search. That means a great deal. So look forward to everything. You can call me if you need to. I will get out of your way right now. And I want to thank Lisa for the link. This worked great. I can hear you just fine. So last year's technical difficulties, I think, are behind us. And now we're going to be very forward focused and working together in the next month or two to find the next great leader for your district. So thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, next on our agenda is public comment. The guidelines are that we expect comments to be limited to 3 minutes per person, and that a representative be selected to speak on behalf of a group of individuals attending the meeting for the same topic. School board members will listen to the public comments, but will not discuss the topic at the board meeting. The superintendent and/or the school board chair may provide a response outlining the steps the district has taken or will take to address the concerns. A summary of the school district's actions in response to public comment will be provided to the school board, individuals submitting public comment and/or public comment at a later date as appropriate. And we expect that comments remain respectful and appropriate and not identify any current or former students, their families, or staff members by name. Did we receive any emails? I didn't receive any emails.
I have no emails. Did anybody sign up?
Did anyone sign up for public comment? I'll double check. Thank you.
Sign in to apply. Oh, I think I missed that.
Or I think it's on the tape. Oh, it got moved. Okay. Did you want to speak?
I don't.
No problem.
Okay.
You can sing if you want.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Did you want to speak?
I'm here as for a concerned parent of the community and everything here, but I know that some of us here are on the same belief of it. Yes, if I had the opportunity to do so, I would.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Do you want to come up to the
chair?
Yeah. And maybe introduce yourself.
Okay.
I'm Christina, last name is Dupree. Most of the kids that I have in the system here, otherwise know me as Auntie, because I have nieces and nephews that are within the system here in the school board. I came and brought family today because I wanted to show that we are a representative here in the district. We are a large, growing, still adding to the school district. And I think it is a very important part us as an Indigenous group and us of a culture to be included within the district. I know that for some of us, we're kind of here and quiet and not usually seen out in public because we're usually quite busy, as we do live in a multi-generational home for most of us that are Native Indigenous families. We're usually taking care of others or helping out with others, so that's where we're usually kind of placed. And I think this is a big part of where we should be helping our kids to be more aware and trying to include the youngsters to see that we have to step forward a little bit to see what's happening, to take accountability. I know that there's a lot of concerns with the schools because we're kind of different. I am not affiliated from locally around here. I am originally from a different tribe off the Cheyenne River. I've been here for over 20-some years with my family. Because this is, like I said, most of us know, as most Native tribes, we've been pushed over and pushed over and pushed over. So we do have roots and ties of family around. So that's why we're here. And that's what brought us back to this district, which Red Wing is a beautiful area. It's brought good grounds for us, and it's a lot of us, it was brought for change. Because we left a system that was not quite the same. And I know that some of the kids coming up do struggle. I know we have a high need for the education. We also have a high need for the support for some of the children. Because some of us we do live in these, like I said, multicultural homes. We're supporting one another with a paycheck to paycheck. I am dependent on some of the programs that are local around town because we are a large family. And some of them, and not only just us as a Native community, there are the other communities that are here in town that also are underrepresented, and they too haven't found quite a voice yet in this environment. So I just would like to encourage those thoughts and options because we are kind of here, just blending in different ways. I'd like to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Oh, I forgot recognitions of upcoming events. Sorry. This is the first time I have run a board meeting, so I'm going to own my nervousness. And I'm a little nervous. So we had our math league here, our middle school math league. Anyone else?
Language Bowl last weekend.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Nikki.
All of our teams took a place. I just can't remember which places and which teams took which. So we put this morning language class, and the principal had put the trophies in the trophy case, and we anticipate MIEA getting some more trophies for that one.
Right. Is there something, has anyone sent anything to, Ann Robertson to go into the district newsletter?
So we had, I think she was in a language class, but she wasn't competing. I think she was tasked from Ann to take pictures, and she took a ton of them. And so she said she was gonna get them to Ann.
So we're gonna showcase in the evening on Sunday.
Okay, yeah.
Red Wing is hosting a home speech meet Saturday. 20 teams coming, so if you're looking for something to do, you can come visit the speech team meet.
And it's free.
It's free.
And it is awesome. I've had the opportunity to watch our speech team compete in all the categories and to walk through the building where they're practicing and they're facing walls and awesome. So if you can go, I would say, here Saturday.
Great, thank you.
We could recognize someone. Fourth grade basketball brought home their tournament first place from Cannon Falls over the weekend. We got one of the players right here. And
That's
then,
two things I gotta tell Superintendent Sampson that we.
Yeah.
we also have sixth grade basketball. They got third place at the Cannon Falls basketball tournament over the weekend.
That's awesome.
So we are doing well in basketball and headed to state.
Wow. That's really cool. All right. Administrative reports.
Upcoming events blends right into administrative reports. So this month is program and department updates, but on Thursday, February 22nd, so this Thursday from 5:30 to 7 at Twin Bluff is World Cafe 2. So we're going to continue with working on getting community input, staff, parents, community members, whoever you are, invited to join us for the World Cafe process. And we'll be looking at the current mission statement from the school district because that is part of our strategic plan. So we invite you all to come. There will be light refreshments, district administrators. Just come because it came last November. It was pretty powerful and important. So
Students are welcome too. We had a couple of students came and they added another really important layer of insight and information. So it's not just for adults, it's for students as well.
And then yesterday, we had staff joining us for professional development that our teaching and learning department organized for a full day of professional development. I don't remember all the numbers, but I think 50 sessions, 44 presenters were internal.
Remember that, but yeah.
Around that, 250 participants, 1 board member, right?
Yes, just, I think, yeah, that was the.
So it was just a day of learning for everybody, and it was a wide array of sessions that were offered. So
it was really good.
This is not written in the board packet, but SiteLogic is going to be giving you an update on facility study and enrollment study, so Andy Fields will be connecting with you this week. We've been working with Alan Wheeler, looking at Jefferson Building and looking at the opportunities, and right after spring break, we should have a report on that. So it is going very swiftly right now.
Anything else?
Nothing else?
We're good, all right. Next, are there any committee updates?
With negotiations, we are in a holding pattern with both custodians and food and nutrition services, with likely mediation being scheduled out for the rest sometime later this spring. We are continuing to work with support personnel and teachers. So we have a very busy spring ahead of us.
So you said waiting for mediation with both cooks and custodians. All right, anybody else? Rachel?
I attended a transportation ad hoc committee meeting, and we are in the process of reviewing some early numbers for the cost of transportation next year. And then I attended yesterday the LMC meeting, and our Well at Work clinic is out for RFPs or bids currently. So that's kind of the update for that.
Anyone else? I can give a quick update because I don't know if board members were representative, or maybe Jennifer. So District Advisory Committee, we had Brittany.
I was there.
Go ahead. Okay. Brittany talked about, well, this is conscious discipline, so the early childhood program. So she highlighted some activities. We have a full room. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see all the activities that our participants went through with Brittany's passion and expertise with the work she's doing with our learners. And then DEI you were at. You want to talk about DEI?
Go ahead.
So
I'm still trying to remember, I'm sorry, there's a few more acronyms added to the training that we had, so I'm still trying to remember them, and I didn't have them written down.
Sure. So our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee this year is focused on working with our Indigenous, our Black, African American, Hispanic, Latino. We also brought in Outfront Minnesota, which we talked through our 2S LGBTQIA+ population.
That came off your tongue. Wow.
I am gonna actually put in the space though that I was very happy that they honored the Two-Spirit, and they put that at the beginning. And so our speaker and presenter was just she was just a powerful speaker and really made us feel safe in talking about things that, as our students present in our school, that we're welcoming. So she was also, or they were also part of our professional developers learning yesterday, and I worked with different trainings on that. So
I saw them, they were excellent.
So that's DEI and Mr. Dennard.
Anyone else? I'd health and safety tomorrow. Cause it was rescheduled. All right, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone need to pull anything from the consent agenda? Rachel?
I'd like to pull number 5.
Okay. So then we will vote on the consent, right?
1 through 4.
1 through 4. All right, do I have a motion? Do we need a
Make a
motion?
motion to approve items 1 through 4.
Okay. So we have a motion from Ms. Ostendorf and a second from Ms. Titt. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, so number 5.
Yeah, I just wanted to have a little discussion or help me better understand some of the due process facilitator. I don't know if anyone here is able to answer some of that, but I had a few questions. One, I was wondering what a due process facilitator was and how many we have in the district. That would be my first question.
I think Carrie is here to come up into the due process description.
Certainly.
As she's coming up, I'll talk a little bit about, I think historically there's been a due process facilitator, and Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, at each of our buildings for special ed. Right now, this is the MOU specifically with 2 of our due process facilitators, so. But Carrie's gonna be able to.
So are you one of those, Candy?
I was before my current position.
Okay.
So I can maybe just give some information about what that role is. So there is one in each building, and the role is that they provide guidance to special education teachers in the area of due process paperwork. So it's really ensuring that special education teachers are meeting all of the legal requirements that they need to meet. When I think about the importance of that position, of course, I'm advocating for the position, but what I'm concerned about is the number of out-of-field placement teachers that we have in special education positions and Tier 1 licensed teachers as well, who need that additional support on the IEP paperwork primarily. So that they would also be the person that you would go to in the building if you had questions about timelines, or if you wanted to problem solve a behavior situation that you have, they would be the first people that you would go to.
So is this old person already like a director, or they're more than just a special ed teacher?
They've just been, there's no licensure requirement, so they would just be a special education teacher. We have had some that had their director's license, like Tiffany Victal has her director's license, but that isn't a requirement of the position.
And so these people are they full-time teachers and they're doing the due process stuff?
Yeah, it's a stipend position, so it's above what they typically do. Sometimes, ideally, we would have a slightly lower caseload with somebody in that position, just because of the responsibility that's part of the position.
And I think that was one of my questions too, like why the stipend? Is that not just part of their job, built in as part of their job?
So this person would be going above and beyond to support other teachers, so it wouldn't be part of their typical job. So they are just a special, not just, let's take that back. They are a special education teacher with a full caseload of students and then a full caseload of teaching as well. So anything that they're doing related to the due process facilitator position is above and beyond what their typical job would be.
And have we always paid a stipend to these due process facilitators?
I believe since the last I could find reported was 2012, was the earliest I could find. And I think it did predate that as well. There might have been like a shift in emails and I couldn't find it, but at least since 2012.
And how is that stipend amount, like, how is that created, or how is that amount determined?
I don't know how it was originally determined. It's been the same amount, as long as they've had the position.
So it's been 3,000
Mhm.
consistently since 2012, or?
Yep.
So is part of that job also making sure that, and especially with people that are not, they're the tier one
Mhm.
people, making sure that we are in compliance with all laws so that if we get audited or when we get audited, we do not get fines for not following proper procedure.
Yes, so that is part of it. For example, at some of the buildings, there's a checklist, and they would review several files from each case manager at the end of the school year, just to identify if there are any problems or if you need to continue to review them. The other piece that they help with a lot is developing schedules and caseloads for the following year. And that's really a significant piece in how they support the administrative team, both for gen ed and for special education, figuring out grouping and classes.
Did we at one time have a due process facilitator as a job? Probably no one here can answer that question.
Yeah,
So-
Like historically, I feel like we had that position.
I think, didn't
I don't-
sometime, because I was in the classroom at that time, and I feel like at some point in time, we had enough staff that we were able to combine teaching and that role within a teacher's day so that they weren't carrying their full load of students and, also doing this, but I think
So,
the current situation is
yeah, so
we can't do that.
since I can remember, so I was a teacher starting from 2003 forward, that the due process facilitator position was not a separate position, but at one point, it was 0.7 teacher, and then they were trying to make it 0.3 due process facilitator position. But it was just whether that was sustainable or not, because we weren't able to hire all of the special education teachers consistently that we wanted. So when I was in the position, which would have been about 6 years ago, it wasn't a 0.7, 0.3 configuration. It was, I had a full-time teaching position, and then the due process facilitator position was just the $3,000 stipend. That being said, if it's possible, we do like to keep the caseload of that person a little bit lower, but just in recent years, that hasn't been possible.
And one more question, where in our budget is this, because I'm seeing two people, right, at $3,000, where's that coming out of?
From our, and I don't know if Lisa's still on, but I think it's coming from our state special ed funding. So.
I was just trying to look in the current, support personnel contract, like, how is this different than what's currently in the contract? Like, what's the reason for the MOU? Is it just because the contract is technically expired, or is this above what's?
I don't think we've ever seen it in the CDA. It is something the negotiation team can talk through. It's one thing that we've tried to chat about, we need to add it in, so it's not a continuous MOU. So the language is trying to figure out.
Have we had this MOU come up before?
I think,
I can't speak to the history of the MOU, sorry. I can speak to why we only have two currently. So typically there would be one in every building, and it sort of is a continual, as long as there have been no concerns, they would do it that following year. But we had the person from the high school retired, so it opened up the position at the high school. And then the person at Burnside is still in special education, but they were taking on additional challenging classes, and they wanted to step down from that because they didn't feel like they could do both of those things at the same time.
So basically you have one person covering elementary and one person covering middle school and high school, or it's just?
It's been just one person at the middle school and then one person at Sunnyside. And then Kayla and I have just tried to meet the needs without the people there.
Of the other two buildings.
In the other two buildings. But that immediacy of access is a barrier.
Anyone else?
I think as we move forward, I think we need to maybe relook at how this is and how it should look in the future so that we don't have to have an MOU moving forward to make this more of a permanent job of somebody's, and who does that, how does that work, how are they supported? Because I don't think MOUs, while I think they are helpful, I don't think they're a way to move forward in an expectation.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, right.
A temporary.
Yeah, it should be a temporary or one-time thing, or, oh, yeah, you're right, the contract is finished and we need to pay these people before the contract, is expired. So, I think we need to do a little bit more digging. I'm happy to support this now, but I think moving forward, I think we really need a better answer to the issue.
Mm-hmm.
There is languaging in the MOU because we are in negotiations right now, so just to kind of be mindful of, do we add this to appendix B?
Right.
So it is something that will be discussed at negotiations.
I believe when we were kind of trying to dig through things, it existed, but it was always on an MOU basis or an agreement. And then with all of the different changes in human resources, new superintendent, new assistant to director of teaching and learning, all of those things are lost. So, they're just kind of coming to the surface and so just like surfacing them and making sure we have clarity on the rules and we have them stipend or put into a CBA. So.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the MOU. Okay, so Ms. Tift made the motion, Israel seconded the motion.
Second.
Is there any more discussion?
I didn't introduce Carrie, she is our assistant special ed director, so no, she's not the former due process coordinator, but she is the current assistant special ed director.
And thank you for
Yeah.
the questions, I really appreciate it.
Yes, I appreciate being able to talk to it. I think they're really important positions and, Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
We have to vote it.
Yep, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Moving on, our resolution accepting donations and grants.
Okay, I got you.
All right, thank you.
All right, we have 5 donations. Bethany Flatham for $500 donated money for scholarships for field trips. Evie Smith in the amount of $100 for Case Junction field trips and activities. Karen and Michael Zeesh, I don't want to mispronounce that name, but $100 for the hockey program in memory of Pat Solly. And SCS Elevator Products Inc., $100 for the Redmond High School Robotics Club. And last but not least, Bonnie Loman, $20 for girls basketball programming in memory of George Carter. So thank you for all those generous donations.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, great. So Ms. Schoenfelder made the motion. Ms. Ostendorf seconded the motion, and this is a resolution, so I have to do a roll call. Ms. Tift.
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder.
Aye.
Ms. Buck.
Aye.
Ms. Ostendorf.
Aye.
Ms. Rowe.
Aye.
And I vote aye. All right. Next, we have our resolution of non-concurrence. So I would like to invite anyone forward that needs to be forward. and we're very happy you are here. Do you want to maybe, I know who you all are, but do you want to introduce yourselves for the community members who may be watching?
I'm Angelica, tribal member, parent, ACAC member.
Philip White, Native American liaison for the school district, also a parent.
Janice Erickson, Chair of the American Indian Parent Committee, also a parent of 6 kids.
I'm Heather. I'm also on APAC and parent.
Awesome. So first I wanted to start out to say I'm very grateful to be here today. It's an honor to be able to work together for our children. And in doing so, I brought some gifts for everybody, if that's okay.
Yes. This is traditional wild rice. It's traditional wild rice. In my language, we actually call it nomen, which is Ojibwe. And in my daughter's language, it's called Pasin. Is that the correct? Pasin. Pasin. She is Dakota. And all of these were hand harvested in the traditional way of our traditional people of the Kakagan Sloughs of Bad River Band of Lake Superior, Ojibwe. It's the traditional homeland of our people. So this was hand harvested in a very special and sacred way. And many times when we're doing meetings like this, it's important for us that we start out in a very good way.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to let you know that we do come in peace. And that we mean well. Everything we do today and say is for the good of our children. We're here to move forward in a good way. We're here to build meaningful relationships that help our Native students reach their full academic success. We're here because we love and value our Native languages, our cultures, and our complex history. As we move forward, communication is key to a successful collaboration. We're here to help you. We're here to help you. We need you to understand that. Please know that we understand the struggles and the experiences of our Native students and families. We're here to work together. We're here to ensure that our unique cultural and academic needs are being met in a good way. It is our honorable duty to do the right thing for our Native students, families, and community. The next 7 generations are counting on us to do the right thing. Miigwech, Pradamia, yay, and thank you, is what I have to say.
Do you all have copies of the letter, right? All right, so I don't need to read it to you? Okay. I have been told by MDE that since we're on our 3rd or 4th year of non-concurrence, that there's gonna need to be consultations from TNEC, from MIAC, from MIEA, and these are non-negotiable. They have to happen. And I will be making sure that it happens.
I think that's a good thing. right, to work together.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely,
Because the district has to be held accountable.
right. Understood.
Do you know what that entails, Phil?
These organizations will be coming here and will be watching. And it just needs to happen. Because you can see all the people here.
Right. Can these people be a resource for us as?
They are a resource. I mean,
Yes.
I've already talked to a few of them that sit on these committees and they agree that they need to come in and consult with the school board, with the district leaders.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, especially the school board.
So in our board packet, we actually have two different letters.
Yep, there's the one from last year and there's the one for this year.
Okay, I thought they were the same date, I'm sorry. Maybe it was just.
That's just the date that it was printed, I believe.
Oh, okay. Got it, okay.
Well, I think that, I mean, it is important that we work together. And the more I'm very open, I think we're all very open to understanding more clearly what it is we need to do to move forward in a good way, because, you know, we don't know enough, so we need to know.
So part of the work of the board now is just to understand, a vote on concurrence, the APAC met last year and this year is making recommendations. We have 60 days as a board, so we'll likely do a special session to give a written response. And then review, so they're
Right.
working with the Allegra, the APAC, Janice and Phil, to look at their requests, both from last year and this year, so we can give a response. And then in addition to that, because we're number 4 of non-concurrence, we're moving into CNEC to make sure that we are in compliance with that. I'm just trying to
Right,
just so we know that it's
where-
not.
Educate.
Yeah, what are our next, where are we going next? Yeah, that's it, yes.
And thoughtful action steps, because I was
Right.
reviewing this just from my perspective and looking at some of the things we are doing, some of the things we aren't. And they're not really, impossible asks.
Right.
You know, so I appreciate, highlighting some of the things that we have done, so, building our capacity, but then we need to already have to before we need to do so. But just for educating this board, we have to come together and put together a budget response to the.
And if there's questions that the board has, you reach out to the APAC group. We will gladly help answer any questions that you have. Or reach out to people who have the answers.
May I say something? For a lot of people who may not know this, but we are legally obligated because we receive funding not only from just the students, so our Native students receive threefold compared to a regular student. We get the pupil funding, we get federal and state funding. So we are legally obligated to the Native Americans only because we do not receive funding for any other groups except for the Hispanic community with the English language learners. So that doesn't even cover all their students, it's just their English language learners. So I just wanted people to be aware of why we have to do this and that we're legally obligated for the funding that we receive for Native students. And we should want to do that because with Miss, help me with Shmisha, thank you. We do have a very large Native population here. And we should be wanting to grow that considering we do receive threefold funding for Native students only.
I guess to add to that too, is when our students leave the district, that funding also leaves. So holding on and caring for our children in a good way is also beneficial to all. Just want to also add that in.
So is our plan as a board to meet in the next 60 days to discuss some of the asks, or what, I don't.
A letter needs to be sent to the APAC group and submitted to the state.
There's a whole application piece. I'll have to clarify, like, do we send a separate response for 22-23 from 23-24? Can I just read out loud I just think this is important to just put in the space. The vote of non-concurrence, and so our APAC worked very hard to just make us aware of these things, that the district should implement the recommendations on hiring a director, which we're going to be talking about next, and providing transparent data to the APAC regarding our American Indian students. That Red Wing High School Athletics Department continues to require anti-bias training for coaches and activity supervisors, and take accusations of racial bias seriously. Red Wing Public Schools will ensure that all school calendars, including the band booster calendar, will recognize Indigenous Peoples' Day instead of Columbus Day. Number 4, that the district provides monthly financial statements to APAC for transparency of funding and spending of our federal and state grants to support our Native students. That will draft an equity policy that includes guidelines for staff training around microaggressions, as well as school practices and procedures to address student microaggressions. That benefits all our students of color. So I mean, that's the goal here. Reviewing our district discipline policies and ensure implementation does not include the removal of access to school provided technology or biological needs such as bathroom access. Number 7, providing training and expectations that staff partner with families about children's learning needs. And number 8, prioritizing our language revitalization and provide Dakota language learning from early childhood learning. Those are very thoughtful. Do you guys want me to read the 22-23? Are they similar or?
I think there were 2. One of them was the director of Indian education. And I can't remember what the other one was. Data.
Yeah, it was another data one.
I just thought it was important to put in the space because it's very thoughtful. And that we will respond because that's our action step and make sure working with both of you and the family and go through a record as well. Thank you for that.
So those would be, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask Dr. Reiner, you, like, could, if you are prepared at the moment to address, like, where we're at with any of those given things? Because, you know, like, number 2 is to continue to require anti-bias training. So that to me implies that we are doing that, but, you know, like, just where are we at in the?
So after we review the vote of non-concurrence and then the proposal from APAC, we will, I think, Olivia, are you gonna have to talk about the community ed director? Or maybe you guys are talking about their community ed director next?
So
Okay. The APAC's been working with Allegra on a job description, so we'll talk about that. We did implement this year, based on my work with Tribal and request from Tribal for us to be working with our coaches and athletic department just to understand our hiring practices, microaggressions, anti-bias training in the terms of recognizing it student to student, and then also with our coaches as well. So this last November, the fall and the winter coaches came together, went through training, and then our spring coaches will do that as well. So that I believe Paul Hartman is continuing the work there. At least I know that's happening this year. It's just a matter of setting up the trainings next year. We do recognize that this fall, when the band boosters calendar came out, that Indigenous Peoples' Day was not recognized. And so making sure that we're working with those communities, organizations that aren't necessarily directly tied to the school, but are representing the school, that we're doing the work there.
They're asking for money from the entire school district wide in the name of the school district. So they are affiliated with, yes. And it came directly to my house in the mail, and my kids opened it up. They're all band students, we're all music students. And to see their look on their faces when they opened it up and seeing Columbus Day written on there again for the second time in the row, that I have asked to please stop the disrespect in asking for funding while using incorrect history on our school calendars. I don't think it's a lot to ask, especially when they're sending it to our homes and it's coming home in our backpacks. We have to be careful about what we're teaching our children. We're a school. We should be teaching accurate education.
I don't think the financial statements have been sent to APAC in terms of all the federal funds, but that's certainly a process we can respond to. We don't have a district equity policy. In other districts I've worked in, there's been an equity decision-making policy. There's been a process to look at our policies through an equitable lens. But I think this is explicitly asking for an equity policy, correct? That specific piece.
Can you repeat the question?
The drafted district equity policy. So it'd be separate to, or in addition to us analyzing our policies from an equitable lens. There's kind of two.
Yes.
Review district discipline policy, again, that's going through like the lens of equitable practices and implications for what are our current practices versus what is cultural or what is just, I mean, and a lot of this too, like the biological needs and technology access is not necessarily limited to Native Americans. It's really looking at all kids' experiences, but we can address specific to Native American too. So the latter, I would say 4 on, or 3 on, because we still need to really do some work on the calendars, are things that we need to sit down and thoughtfully plan out the process. To your question. So, but not impossible for us to respond to this.
Definitely not impossible. I think we definitely got this, but we have to stay strong, and you have to be able to look at it from our point of view, because we know our students the best, and the information that we give to you is really just trying to be helpful. We're not here to accuse or to point out anything like that, or, all that. What we really care about is just doing what's best for our students and our families and the community as a whole. Because when we do better, then others follow us as good role models. So I really think we have the opportunity to change things for the better for everybody. We work together.
Building the partnership.
Building trust.
So just to put in the space, after items, we have 60 days, so we'll look at what, agenda meeting.
Yep.
We'll talk about interim and then stay connected with the APAC and then get a date in place. We don't want you to leave yet. We want Allegra to come up. Collaboration. Sorry, Chair, I didn't mean to take over.
No, you know what? I think we've established. I'm a little unsure of what to do next, so please help me. Where's he? All right, so Allegra is going, Sneechek is going to talk to us about the American Indian Education Program Director.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. We have been discussing this position for a couple of months now. I just wanted to provide an update that we did discuss it as an APAC, and that job description has been shared with APAC members. I also shared it with Craig Morris, who's the HR director of Prairie Island, and our Prairie Island liaisons, as well as the Prairie Island Education Director, Paul Dressen, for feedback. In the iterations we've discussed, the preference that was expressed by both APAC and Prairie Island would be to hire a director and maintain the Native American cultural liaison position. That would be our first choice. And I believe we can consider a vote on this position at our next board meeting. We have talked about it with the personnel committee as well. So I have also been working with our HR department on banding and figuring out salary and all of those details. So I think we can have a pretty comprehensive draft brought to you at our next meeting.
Great. Do you have one more APAC bill before then? Meaning it's in final form right now?
Yes, we March second
Wednesday in March.
Yeah, we can meet after that, so.
Our next meeting is
Are you gone?
March 13th, thank you.
That's the next APAC meeting?
Yep.
Feel free to come
Right
sit
here.
in. Any of you.
March 13th is the next APAC?
Yes.
Because our next board meeting tentatively is either the 4th or the 11th, or whatever we.
Right.
So.
So maybe the
25th.
The 25th.
Or do you?
No.
We can always have a meeting if we need to.
We can have a special meeting.
Yeah.
So before, the 11th is when our next, if we vote for it, which we probably will. Yeah, TBD. I can't confirm or deny in this moment, but, so that's our,
My recommendation to the agenda committee is that we have this on the next board meeting. And
okay,
We'll
Great.
have a special APAC meeting.
okay.
I mean, obviously,
Agenda for a vote though, or for a discussion about, I think vote.
But there will
March
be,
4th.
the proposal will be in our board packet, right? So we'll be able to have an opportunity to read through it and look at it and understand. And then have a discussion and vote, right?
That's the whole.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
happy to
think we
meet
could do it.
with anybody not in quorum
Right.
for conversations about it
Yes.
in advance as well.
and likewise, as the American Indian Parent Committee here and community, you're always welcome to reach out and, you know, speak directly to the parents, because the parents' voice is what really matters a lot of times too. You know, sometimes our voices go unheard, so these moments are especially important and valuable to us. So we thank you for your time and for your questions.
We appreciate your time and help on this, so we can get right. Okay.
So when we discussed it last time, and I think we had talked about the funding of this position and how we weren't sure if we would have enough funding for this position and the liaison. So can you explain kind of the process of how it was determined that we can keep both, and how is that going to be funded then?
So we have funding identified for the director position from Title I and Title IV.
Perfect.
And we do not have a funding stream identified yet to keep both positions.
But you think it could
Yes.
happen? Because I think that's a big question mark that I would have is, just being on the negotiations team and knowing how tight our funding is currently, gives me heart palpitations. So I really want a clear funding stream for that. And I had mentioned last time that, you know, let's do this right. And if we're going to make a position and keep another position, I want to be able to keep it. I don't want to say, okay, we have funding for this year, but I need it sustainable. And so, you know, whatever we choose to do in the future, I want to make sure that if we're going to be committed, we're committed. I don't want to say, yes, we're committed this year, but then next year we are dried up funding wise, right? So I want to make sure that we are committed 100% and that we found a way to keep that going for you and for us and for our kids.
I'll submit my budget recommendations, on which other budget codes I think that we could or should use.
Well, and I know there's attrition and there's a lot of things coming up, so I'm not afraid that we can't fund it, at least for next year, but if we're gonna put our money where our mouth is, I wanna be able to make sure that we are committed to you in the future.
I think it's also important that with, you know, we're talking about attracting and retaining students, and maybe I'm stepping into now discussion, but I think that attracting and retaining our Indigenous students is important. And especially, we have a tribal community in our school district. And so I think it's critical that we have a director of Indian education in order to make sure we're doing the best we can for our Indigenous students.
And also to the point of the funding thing, I've been told by MDE that those positions should not be paid for by American Indian funds. It should be covered by the district on all the other funds.
Right, and I just wanna make sure that if we're gonna do it, we do it right.
And Allegra, I think I've asked this before, but I want to ask again because I'm not sure I understand. When you say like the title fund that can cover some of it, is that pulling then though, is that just shunting money? Like, so there's other things that are funded by those funds that will now lose funding? You know, I'm trying to understand it.
So each year we write a plan based on district priorities. So the plans change every year. So this would be something that would be prioritized, I think, next year and moving forward, unless there was another funding stream we wanted to adjust it to. So general fund, Title II, if we are working on grants, like there's a lot of different possible funding streams, but Title I and Title IV are consistent and sustainable.
It should probably also be noted that this position has been needed for a very, very, very long time. I mean, even generations back have needed this position. So we are way behind right now. It is not really a time to worry about exactly the details. I think what we need to do is step forward in a good way and show good effort for our students, families, and community. We've been very good and calm in keeping everything together as best we can for our students, families, and community, but we really need this position. Because honestly, I do a lot of the work, I feel. I work for free. I've been working for free for 5 years before I even came to this school district doing the exact same job. So I am very well experienced and very well aware of the situation that we have going on. And I actually want to help our district. Like I want us to be the leading district where everyone comes to us and is like, yeah, look what you guys did. You know, let's make that team. Let's be a part of this amazing time right now. You can say you were a part of helping us. I think that will be so awesome that our teamwork can do so much good for our Native students and families. So we just have to stay strong, get it together, and do the right thing.
I think everyone feels that way, you know, it's just a matter of like the finding the money piece of it. You know, I think everyone's in agreement with that. It's looking, maybe having Allegra, you know, help understand some of the questions about where that funding, where that comes from. Right? I mean, because you have a budget to work within, so to try to figure out where the money comes from is important.
Obviously, that is important, and we've let that kind of be a barrier for far too long. We're come to the point now where we're going to just jump right over that barrier and get where we need to go. This is our journey that we're on. We need to stay strong for our students, families, and community. And this is the way to do it, in a good way.
And that's our job as a board, to determine our priorities and where do we want that money to go.
And legally, you have to pay for those positions,
Yes.
and it doesn't come from AI funds. Like I heard that from the director of Indian Education from Minnesota.
Thank you, Jennifer. I agree. We have to make this a priority.
Right, I think we have action steps. Several for the board specifically, to responsive, so I have a timeline.
Yeah. And thank you. So if you have further questions, not in quorum, reach out to Allegra. You don't want to break any laws.
And remember, I'm here as your friend, as your neighbor, as a parent, as whatever you need me to be. I am here to help you. Please reach out, and if I can't help you, I know a lot of really cool people that would be willing to help. So please do not hesitate to reach out. If you need questions answered, I can find you the answers that you need to help us move forward in a good way.
I will say, I've talked to Janice many times. So, you know, please feel comfortable reaching out to her.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. All right. Next, our calendar for the 25-26 school year.
It's me. You get me like,
Now you have to introduce
you get me
yourself
for,
again.
I'm Emily Seefeld. I'm a teaching and learning coordinator for the district and also the district assessment coordinator. I'm gonna get my screen up. You guys all have a copy of it as well, but I wanted it up on for recording as well. So the first calendar we're looking at tonight is the proposal draft for the 25-26 school year. The calendar committee met twice this year. We also did a survey to teachers. We reviewed a total of 5 different drafts. The calendar honestly is just a really big mathematical equation. So what we look at is,
I don't think we have the 25-26 in our packet, do we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
I have 24-25, but.
I
That-
have 25.
okay.
Maybe it's just me.
I have it on the
Oh, just
screen,
online.
so it was in board book.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
for the problem.
Nope, we're good, we're good. So what we look at is, from the student side, we need a minimum of 165 days. We don't always want just 165 because you have no cushion. And then we also need to meet at the same time, a minimum of 165 days. And at the high school, 7th grade and up, a minimum of 1,020 instructional hours. So that we have that lens. And then the other lens is also fulfilling the days of a teacher contract and all of that as well, which is 187 contract days in our contract. So we looked at 5 different calendars for 25-26. A lot of what the differences were had to do with the beginning of the year and the end of the year. The last calendar meeting, we had it narrowed down to 3. And so then we sent, and it all had to do at that point with getting to the 187 teacher contract days. So we sent a survey to teaching staff of like, how do you want us to get to the 187 days? Because there were some different ideas out there as well of how to get to that. So we really wanted feedback from that bargaining group. And usually, sometimes you do that with 3 choices, you get a third, a third, a third. We did not. So we got 62% for the one that is presented to you today, which was what we call draft C. We have 167 days in this calendar. Know that that does not include 5 e-learning days. So if we do 5 e-learning days on an inclement weather day, that is still a full ADM membership day for students. We also have additional PD days in here right now because of the READ Act to get to what we know those requirements are. That's why you might remember there's been other years where it's been more than 167 school days, but that's also to fit in some of those READ Act requirements for training, because those are upwards about 50, 55 hours for teachers in a year to make sure we can fit that in as well. And there are instructional hour requirements for elementary, and they're just a lot less than the 1,020, and I don't have them off the top of my head what that exact hour is.
I bet Jen wrote those.
It's like 9:50, I feel like.
I have the legislation right here.
But because it's the same and we always have enough for high school, we know we have enough for everybody else. 935.
That's why kindergarten can have
Yeah.
the slow entry.
They actually even have, and actually kindergarten's even less.
850.
Yeah, kindergarten has even less.
Kindergarten is still not compulsory, right?
Nope. School at age 7.
Yeah.
Yep. Any questions about this calendar?
Yep. So, do I have a motion to approve the calendar for the 25-26 school year?
So moved.
Emma Ostendorf made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Schoenfelder. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hey, the motion passes. We have approved the calendar.
Okay, so the next one is an amendment to the approved calendar for next school year. So the 24-25 calendar is approved, actually, I think a year ago at this meeting. So there's just two slight changes that we're proposing that has to do with the READ Act. We didn't know all of the PD requirements that we need. So the change would be for the amendment is that February 7th day is now a no school day for all students across the district to give PD time. And then we are proposing to move, on the original calendar, it was December 13th just for the elementary. You no longer see that day. We moved it to a no student day the day before Thanksgiving, just from what we've noticed the last couple of years for staffing and a lot of things that day. So it's a travel day for that weekend. And so what that does is it doesn't take away the PD time. It changes that to flex PD because we'll have so many staff that need to do letters next year. It's still a requirement to get it done, but part of their contract is that they weren't here 187 days. This has like 24 hours of flex time on it. 14 of those are flex professional development days. So that just changed to flex time because a lot of the letters that they do is on demand modules. So that's the amendment for next year. But we've struggled with staffing the last couple of years on that Wednesday, and student attendance isn't quite the same as well.
So, looking back to what we just approved for 25-26,
Yeah.
we do have that built in there.
We already, yes, we went forward with that for that one.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendments to the 24-25 calendar.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Right. So Ms. Ostendorf made a motion, Ms. Tiff seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion with the calendar has been approved again. Okay, next on the agenda is our amending our meeting schedule. So we had talked about, because of spring break and the number of people that aren't available for that 18th. So at the agenda committee meeting, we discussed the possibility of changing in March, switching to the, I'm looking,
From the 4th to the 11th.
yeah, and then the
18th to the
18th to the 24th.
So originally, we talked about just canceling the 18th. The issue with what we need to have approved by the board for staffing, it would require me to have a March 25th vote of approval for any cuts or staffing issues. Otherwise, we're going to be pushing into April with staffing. So it was more of a selfish piece on my part, just to be able to.
Wait, can you say that again?
So with staffing and budgeting, there's timelines for us to hit, and the board will have to approve some of our staffing recommendations at a certain point.
So we can't afford to cancel the meeting on the 18th or skip a meeting. So we need to, we're suggesting moving from the 4th to the 11th and the 18th to the 25th.
And not moving April days around at all.
Well, I think now that we've scheduled our
Interviews.
we have to keep those days open, but I mean, we're going to be meeting on the 15th.
The other thing we can consider,
Anyway.
as long as I have March 25th for the board to do approvals for staffing, do we potentially then remove April 1st? That would just make more sense for us to be able to, it's just an idea.
Right. Do we, with what we need to do going forward, do we have time to get, I mean, can we do that?
Why always want to meet?
The same.
I think we should leave it and decide that at the.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
do
I
March
I was just gonna say, we could always add a special meeting on to our interviews on the 8th if we have to. I mean, if you wanted to cancel the 1st, we could always add a school board meeting to our interview time on the 8th to act on anything that might have come up
I see
to
what you
vote
mean.
on
Yeah.
anything, to just add a special meeting if needed. I think we did that several times last spring. We had several like if needed meetings on our calendar just for things that might come up. So we could always add that in later.
Right. So we'll leave April as is and just change our March meetings to the 11th and the 25th.
Then April should be the 1st and the 15th, then, is that what you're saying?
Yes. And leave April the way it is.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So Lisa. is
Lisa got
probably
that,
writing
yeah.
out, so-
Do we need a motion for that?
Let's see, I'm looking for my papers.
We do.
Yes, all right. So now we are moving, or we move to approve moving the March meetings to the 11th and the 25th.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Rowe. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Buck. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All
I was gonna
right.
say, maybe we don't need a workshop, necessarily on those back to back, that's a lot of
Right.
time. Maybe, sorry.
Well,
And
and,
we always do cancel,
right,
right?
right.
You can't add.
You
it as part of
can't,
the add-on.
yes, it's easier to cancel than to add. So let's just leave them as our normally scheduled meetings.
Yeah, because when I look at like our tentative meeting topics, there really isn't anything much in April at workshops, so.
Yes.
Yes.
We have fun at
Just-
agenda.
Yeah, we do.
You know, for-
And, I've gotten to the point with Jim now that when I call him and say I've been thinking, he gets scared, so.
For future meetings, I'm wondering if we could have the robotics, not just as like the showcase, but we get a lot of donations for the robotics. And I just am always curious, like, obviously it takes a lot of money to run that, but like, I don't know enough about the hows and the whys and how that works. So that would be nice to have maybe as a workshop or something, or a little chunk of one. It might just be my own ignorance, but.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe, we need to go to the gym or something, we have to do it. Right, well, because, to see the stuff, I mean, if we have the kids come in and bring them.
Oh, I thought you meant like go to the gym. I'm like,
That's what I thought too. I was like,
Go to our gym. Oh, sorry.
Speaking of health and safety.
Yes, okay. All right, so the next thing on the agenda was something, the second reading to adopt MSBA Model Policy 807, which that is our advertising policy.
No, health and safety.
Health and safety, okay. Never mind.
So this is the second read, and Wendy German, Alan Gaylor, Wendy German is our health and safety coordinator, so there is a health and safety meeting tomorrow. They are gonna be joining us at the next meeting with the final read, so they'll be able to kind of highlight some of those pieces, but for the time being, the recommendation is to adopt the MSBA recommended policy and then replace our policy.
Okay, but there's no action on this stuff, all right, thank you. All right, and finally, upcoming meetings and future topics,
I
so.
should have held my comments.
Yeah, that's all right, but it's that kind
I
of.
forgot we had a thing in between.
Yeah, so, we have the robotics team for the student showcase at an alternate location. And there's space to do really cool things. Anything else?
I would assume that we'll have a notice, or maybe we'll have this on the agenda next time to schedule that special meeting to address the non-concurrence.
Oh, yeah.
Or could one of the workshops in March be that?
Because we don't meet again for 3 weeks now, with that change.
Yeah, I have to work on one of the March workshops.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, that was Ms. Ostendorf and Ms. Schoenfelder. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you for your patience, Jen Grove and Carrie Hansen.
Thanks.